Hello, hello, good morning, everyone. This is Lawanda Banks. I am the Director of Learning and Innovation at Learning with Lawanda, and I am an entrepreneur, and I am also an author, a wife, a mother, pet owner. And I just want to welcome you all to day 1421. This is our second part of the homeschool versus traditional public school, key facts and personal reflections from yours truly. So I just wanted to welcome you all in here. And I'm looking forward to facilitating this discussion. And I hope that the viewers and participants get in on it and share their personal experiences or maybe even anecdotes from other stories from people who they know who's went through similar types of experiences, or who would like more information. I would like to be used as a resource for that. So if you guys want to get in and get comfortable, grab yourself a beverage if you like. If you want to notes, you can write down some notes if there might be something that you think is interesting or that you might want to follow up on. I do have some little giveaways today that I would like to offer up. So stick around so that we can see who gets the little things that I have to offer. I'm just glad that everyone is here today. And please share with your friends and let them know that we are in here and that we're going to have a very interesting and much needed discussion on education, homeschool versus public school. I've been a teacher and I've also homeschooled my kids, and I also work with homeschool students. So I would like to share some of that information today with you guys. I'm not sure if they're getting ready for our intro song or not, but anyway, just let's make sure that we let people know that we're in here today and we'll get into it. I'll just sit and wait until we get started. And also, you know, I hope everybody's families are doing well out there. So, and I'm praying for people in Turks and Caicos today. So, yes, we have some issues going on. Here we go.
Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Wake up, everybody. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. Stay woke, stay woke, stay woke. It's time to get up. We're healing, we're dealing, we're growing. Together, together, releasing. We're teaching, we're moving. Together, together, we're learning, discerning. We're striving. Together, together, we're leading, connecting, transforming. Together, together.
Okay. Hello, friends. I'm back for part two. Last time we had a very nice discussion. We didn't even get to finish our talk on homeschool versus public schooling, and people got in and started to share about their experiences being parents of homeschool kids or wanting to maybe possibly try it. So I just want to thank everybody who participated. last time in the discussion. And if you would like to jump in today and continue it, please do so. If you have friends who are considering possibilities of homeschooling or even didn't even know that this would be something that could fit into your life, it definitely can, especially if you work from home. That there is something that you can always consider, especially when you have support at your fingertips right now, as it goes with virtual support with tutors and all of that stuff. So yes, I am glad that everybody is in here this morning, and that God rose all of us up this morning. So thanks for coming in, and we can get started on our discussion with our first slide.
V, can you let me share, please?
So I used my good friend ChatGPT to help me with the creative process with our slides today. So I do hope that you guys enjoy the imagery. These are supposed depictions of myself and my children here. And it says that homeschooling can serve as a safe space for children of trauma survivors, helping break generational cycles in a controlled, healing environment. This quote resonated with me personally, as I've went through some things in my personal life when I was in school, and having trauma in that nature where I was inappropriately touched by a teacher as a high school student. It caused a lot of trauma for me personally, and it made me want to ensure that my children would be protected at all times, even in their areas of education and their learning. I wanted to make sure that they had a safe space. So, me dedicating my life to being a stay-at-home mom and putting up the boundaries that I thought was necessary to keep my family and my children and myself safe in a controlled environment, which would be in my own home, away from any other influences in my life except my husband. We raised our kids until they were able to talk and that they were mindful of their surroundings and things before I even let them go to public school. And then once all of these issues and concerns with gun violence and bullying and teens, the school suicide rates with the children and stuff like that, I just thought it was best for me to bring my kids back home and continue their homeschooling journey and their education journey until they were ready for college. So this is my bit of point on this quote that I found that I thought was interesting to share. If anyone would like to tap in on this quote and how it resonates with you, please feel free to jump in at this time. Okay, we
Laura,
can.
can you read it out for some people who might not be near the computer, but they want to hear what you're sharing?
I'm sorry, for me,
Yeah,
or
can you read it out? So, people might not be near their computers right now, but want to hear what you're sharing, the quote that you're talking about.
oh, I just said that homeschooling can serve as a safe space for children of trauma survivors, helping break generational cycles in a controlled healing environment.
Thank you. All right, Teresa has her hand up.
Okay. Hi, Teresa.
Yes, I don't have any children, but I said if I had to raise a child, it would definitely be homeschool because there's just so much traumatic stuff the kids have to go through in school. The abuse, the harassment, and sometimes, teachers not handling them. So I definitely would. And I just, like, at one time when my granddaughter was younger, you know, I was saying, how would I handle her? And she was sick, so she was doing homeschool for a while, and I was glad about that because I live in Queens, and the place where I live in, I just feel like it's not safe for kids in the school because some of the stuff that I see, and I see like how some other kids who do go to public school, how they're influenced by the kids, and sometimes. Like when we grew up, I mean, we still got in trouble, but like the parent had to know you had to, the child. My mother had to know who we was going, how, who else we was going to, who
Hmm.
the was, all this stuff. So sometimes none of these questions are really asked by the parents, and I think it was just that it's like this generation to me is like I'm gonna do it my way, but sometimes you gotta ask, and for other people who've done these things and learn. So sometimes it's just like but I want to do it my way, and that's it. And I feel like that's the main issue that people are not respecting people who know about these kind of things to help them. But eventually, I'm praying that they'll get it, and I'm complete.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Is anyone else in there would like to chime in how homeschooling can serve as a safe space for children of trauma survivors, and helping to break those generational cycles in a controlled healing environment? I know that also, with the trauma, it's like social media, technology, kids are more able to, get at each other much more quicker and easier and humiliate each other much more quicker and easier. It's not even like you have to go through the hassle of photocopying something to stick around. They just send it out in mass text messages and stuff. So it's just a different type of environment when you can be in a more safer space at home. Um, so we can go to the next slide.
Question, Rwanda. How does that work when maybe your abuser is in the home? When I was in school, when I was during COVID, I happened to be working in schools, and some of our students were home with their predator, with their predator or abuser, molester in the house, and everyone was home together. And how do you express that as a child that now I'm in school and I'm trying to focus, but the person who is victimizing me is in the home with me now? Like homeschooling became a thing because of COVID, right? Everyone was homeschooled by force in a sense. So how does a child articulate that?
Well, the thing is, there are pros and cons to everything, first of
Mm-hmm.
all.
Mm-hmm.
So, the articulation, what happened is if the child have another adult person who they can safely talk to at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're at home, it's not like you have a school counselor you can go to or anything like that.
Right.
I mean, um, it's just the same thing as if you have food insecurities. Children get to eat their 2 meals a day at the public school when they don't have any food at home.
Mm-hmm.
But then when COVID hit, that was a big concern for many of the districts and communities.
Right.
How are these food insecure people going to get that? So the school is a safe haven for many people, many children getting off the being able to go somewhere safe for a few hours from even child prostitution.
Mm-hmm.
So there are like all of these other things that public schools do serve and help with. But as it goes with an individual option, if you have not necessarily saying that there is dealing with abuse in the home, because
Mm-hmm.
that comes down to a child abuse in the home kind of circumstance, because a parent do have a right to homeschool their child with or without the abuse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that they're in that level. But for this quote, I'm talking more specific. If I was a person like for me, I survived trauma because I was molested when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And because it was a teacher that did that to me, I felt a little more compelled to keep my children closer to me
Mm-hmm.
and have that trust factor was a little, you know,
Right.
messed up from a personal experience, and it takes time to mature and grow even out of trauma. So the way that I handle or cleaved closer to mine because of things, because I probably was going through a period of time where I was going through reminder triggers,
Mm-hmm.
that maybe I did also a part of me wanting to make sure that they got the quality education was to also ensure that they don't experience any type of crazy trauma that could be prevented. I don't want my child to be in environments where people are speaking nasty sexual things to her. They
Mm-hmm.
do that in high schools, I or my son to be in a space where he's seeing people coming to be violent toward him and he's a calmer person. You understand? So it's like, why put them in those types of circumstances if it could be avoided?
Mhm.
Because socialization is something that I can always ensure that they get, and I don't need the public school for that, you
Absolutely.
know? So that's how I felt personally.
Mhm.
So this conversation, I'm sharing some of my personal tidbits, and I'm hoping that other people can get in on this discussion so that people can be a little more broader in their knowledge and understanding of what homeschool actually encapsulates and all of your rights and that you have as a parent to homeschool your kid. You don't have to put them in that type of circumstance if your circumstances can afford it.
Mhm. Gotcha. Thank you. Yeah. And for me, what my share was, because like we've had children who during COVID reported that things were going on at home that were distractions because if your mom's boyfriend is there in the house and now you used to being at school for 8 hours and you don't have to worry about him being a distraction, but now you're at home, and how do they say, mom, this is going on if mom doesn't believe me? There's no school team anymore to
Right.
report to, right? There's no foundation or community. So that was just something that I was thinking about, unless that child comes to us because
Mhm.
of the relationship. But again, we didn't have too many touch points with them during COVID. But if you're homeschooling them, is there a school, is there a team where the child can then communicate with them? And you might go into this later, but what that community now looks like because they're not in a school community physically anymore.
I honestly haven't researched homeschooling as it goes with possible child abuse
Mm-hmm,
issues
mm-hmm,
because I think with child abuse, even if you have a young child who's being abused,
mm-hmm,
you know, people in the family kind of notice it. And
mm-hmm.
now it's down to the family to decide if they're going to speak out against the abuse,
Right.
report the person who's doing it. And a lot of times families turn the eye. They turn their head like they didn't see it.
Right, exactly. And that's the hard part for the child. Like, I don't have anyone to advocate for me.
Right. But there's
Outside of
social
the.
media, there's online now. Children know how to use the internet.
Mhm.
They know they know how to find help if they need it. It's just, is the child going to be brave enough to speak out? Because even in school, children are abused and they go there and they hide their bruises.
Yeah. Hmm.
So again, it's like if we're discussing specifically child abuse in the home school environment,
Hmm.
then that's basically child abuse in the home environment.
Right.
So that's just I think another layer that's can be discussed as maybe a negative to homeschooling, and
Mhm.
it can be a consideration as a negative to homeschooling because again, I said if it fits within you, because if a parent see that they're just straight annoyed that they have to even work with this child, why are you keeping them at home?
Right. That too. Hmm.
COVID was a special circumstance that people were forced to be home, and everybody knew that there were these pockets of kids and women and families when you have drug addicts, alcoholics, abusive people already in the home, and now you're stuck in the home with that. We knew that there was this cluster of people who were at risk.
Right. Yeah. And you're
So
that's
I think that's just a general thing in that. But when I'm talking about homeschool, I'm talking about families who have the wherewithal to work with their kids at home and who choose to keep their kids at home and give them another type of unique, enriching environment that they wouldn't have typically gotten if they were in the public school. It's more freedom and flexibilities.
right. All right. Thanks, Alana. I think that's not the foundation for like today's session of where you're going and the direction that we're going, but also acknowledging the other side of things and what people might have concerns about if they do go the route of homeschooling. So thank you for
Right.
sharing. All right, let's go back into your slides.
Okay, so trauma exposure in traditional schools. According to the National Traumatic Stress Network, nearly 78% of children report more than one traumatic experience before age 18. And this is in traditional schools. And then we can look at that word traumatic and say, what is traumatic to one person may not be traumatic to another person based on people's personalities. So um, I may feel traumatic or traumatized if somebody teased me about my body in front of people at school. That's traumatic. Somebody else may feel traumatized if a teacher berates them in front of everybody and they laugh and stuff. To them, that could be traumatic. Trauma could also be acts of violence, seeing two students fighting or a student fighting a teacher. I saw that in high school. And that was very traumatic for me, watching my teacher get attacked by a student and his parents. And then the other layer of trauma, like I said, with me being molested while I was in high school. So I had different types of traumatic experiences while I was in school that, in on the grounds I'm talking about, that I feel like I experienced for sure because I graduated high school at 16. So I surely experienced those things, I would count as a part of that 78%. So, is there anyone in here who's experienced something in school, on the school property, a school event or something that was very traumatic for you that you wish that you didn't have to witness or see? If anybody would like to jump in. Okay. What about like the school shootings that's going on? The mass shootings that's going on. Families and communities are also very moved by the trauma that's happening in the communities when we have gun violence, right? It's not only those families that experience that, but it's also the children that witnessed it. That's a very traumatic event that happens, and we're all concerned about that too. And I think that many parents started homeschooling their kids specifically because of the gun violence and the bullying. And it's some of the things were so traumatic that it led kids to suicide because they witnessed it and or experienced something traumatic in the schools. So that's another reason why many parents decided to start homeschooling their kids to prevent the exposure to traumatic things. So we can go on to the next slide, unless there's anything in the chat.
Good morning. I have my hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't notice. Um,
Go ahead, Michelle.
I'm sorry, my administrators.
Yeah, can you hear Michelle?
I don't know. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Good morning, Wolf family. Oh, and thank you for bringing this topic. And I signed in and I was signed out and thinking, well, this isn't relative to me, but it is because my children are adults, but I'm still a parent. I'd like to share an experience um when I was, and this is years ago, but I think it still happens now. Uh, being an immigrant coming into this country at a young age and being maybe 7, 8. I think I started school at 8, and being picked on. Well, we didn't have the word bullying back then, but just for being different and having a Caribbean accent and being shy, but just being different and being teased and or mocked because of my accent, and children wanting to just instigate, just have you fight someone and say things, well, say that I said something about somebody's mother, which I didn't, and now they're prompting you, and me not being used to this environment where children are fighting at school, and um, they're all gathering around you and
mm,
prompting you to fight this person or pushing you in the crowd of kids, pushing you onto the
mm,
person they want you to fight. And that's traumatizing
mm-hmm,
because on one hand you're wanting, or I wanted to be accepted. Of course children want to have friends and make friends, and so I would go home, but I don't want to tell my mother because my mother, being my mother, she wants to come up to the school and she wants to
mm-hmm,
be. So then I would feel, well then I won't any friends, and they won't be my friends because my mother is coming up, and somebody might get in trouble because I said something.
Mhm.
And um, I think it's now also relevant because it may be. I mean, children, I don't find so much that they stigmatize against West Indian children anymore. I don't think, but it's more inclusive. But children are different to other children for different reasons, and I think sometimes kids just want to be. All kids just want to be loved and accepted, but you can have that going on in schools where people are instigating fights and causing separation and disruption and this sort of thing in a public school where that level of safety isn't there because the teachers can't be everywhere all the time and watching and protecting the kids.
Right,
So I'm complete.
right.
Thank you.
Exactly. And then, like me, I was a teacher in public school out here in Fort Worth, and I had like upwards of 30 students at any given time in a self-enclosed classroom. So I'm watching five different groups of upwards of 30 students. If a fight breaks out in that class, I personally can't do anything. I mean, look at my size. I'm a little person. I mean, these students tower over me. I wouldn't put myself in that type of physical harm to try to physically stop two big football players from fighting. I can ask them to stop or call for help at the very most, you know? And to be in that circumstance where you're a peaceful person or a peaceable person and they're pitting this fight on you, you know, you don't want that. That is very scary because then you can get jumped by a multitude at that point because you're the other. You're not even fully in there, you know? So, and then your mom, on the other hand, she want to protect you, so you don't want it to exacerbate the circumstance. So now you feel emotionally stuck and stressed. So I understand that, and that is traumatic. So if anyone else would like to share before we go, if anybody exposed to a traumatic event or experienced trauma while in school, if you would like to share on that. If you're a part of that percentage that we called off, I think it was 78%, that's a great number of students. If you had $78 out of 100, I think you would feel like a little rich kid back in the 1980s on Christmas. 78%, that's a high number of people who's been exposed to trauma. So is there anybody else in here that would like to share, because that means some of us experienced it?
Yeah, I will share that I've had my share of traumatizing experiences in school, just in general. And I'm pretty sure most of us have them, just maybe not sharing right now, of seeing bullying, even vicarious trauma, right? Seeing it and not being the actual victim, but exposed to it. Um, Seeing people get jumped in school, or just the the ways people were treated, or having to run home after school, or teachers being abused, verbally abused, and back and forth, or just the emotional abuse of teachers and how they can treat students sometimes and things like that. But you share that you as a teacher, that's also another thing. You come in trying to teach and you have to deal with the trauma that you're also witnessing as well, whether it's seeing your students in certain environments and wanting more for them, or being a part of that. And when I was in schools, I worked in charter schools mainly in New York, and then transferred to Newark. And one time there was a dead body in the backyard in the schoolyard.
Oh
And
my.
that was traumatizing for me as an adult. And then you have to shield the students from things like that. And so you change up the schedule, no recess. Why isn't there recess? There's a dead body, but we can't tell you there is. Someone overdosed in the backyard. And it's like, this is your community, but the schoolyard is open to the community, right? And so this happened overnight, and the janitor found it, and that's traumatizing for the janitor. He's just taking out the trash, right? And so we become traumatized because of these environments as well as adults, and then we have to put on these faces and show the children at the same time and protect
Right.
well. So it's traumatic for everyone.
Everybody, because if I experience trauma, my husband is going to get a piece of
Right,
that.
Right, when you come
When I come
home.
home and now I'm in this emotional state, and I explain to him if I'm a very vivid expression vocal
Right.
person, like, yo, and it
Yes.
was like, oh, and now he's seeing it, and he's feeling my energy, and now it's in his head,
Absolutely. Yeah, and your kids
you
feel it,
know?
the whole house does, right?
Right.
Um,
So, and trauma is such a broad thing. Like I said, it's very nuanced. It's like what
mhm.
well, this was more traumatic than that. No, trauma is trauma, man. It still
Exactly.
bugs me. I
Mhm.
can still see when the teacher got attacked.
Right.
That's why I wrote about it in my book, because it was one of those things that really stood out to me, and it influenced it impacted me rather in such a profound way
Yeah.
as a person who wanted to become a teacher, to
Mhm.
see a teacher be attacked like that. And then as a teacher, to see teachers
Mhm.
be attacked by parents, it's
Right.
like, wait, hold on.
That too. Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and I've never been in a fight before. So
Mhm.
if I've never been in a fight before and I see fights, it affects me differently. I hate to see the violence. I hate to see people taking things and hitting people with it, and all of that. It just does something to me.
Yeah.
So, there were a couple of things that I wrote about witnessing, a man beating up a woman or something like that as a child, and it was very traumatic to me.
Right.
And that was right in the community. So you see it in the yard, and then you go to school and you see it at school. It's like, and you're supposed to want to believe that you're safe.
Yeah. Mhm.
Uh, anyway.
And again, like we prepared for those things when I was in school, like, lockdown, shelter, and stuff like that. But it wasn't until I was an adult in schools that I actually, when I worked in the Newark school, where we actually had shootings outside and we had to protect the children, and those things went into full effect. And that was traumatic for me as an adult. So I can only imagine what that was like for them as children. And in that environment, which was ongoing. It's just that we were a school in the middle of this community where these things were already happening, right? But like again, someone overdosing in the schoolyard, it's a school in this middle of this community. It was going to happen. It has happened in different areas. It's just that now we have children and we have to protect them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly.
also shared that she went to a private school and had traumatic experiences. And it just goes to show just this in school, right? Or any type of social environment, there are going to be experiences that we have no matter what. But we've seen it more so in public schools and so low socioeconomic areas as well, where some of these traumatic situations happen. But Z, did you want to share about any of your experiences in private school?
Gratefully, they weren't as traumatic as some of the things you all have shared. Uh, the and maybe in private school, the picking on and the bullying and that kind of thing might be even more prevalent because a lot of those children feel better than simply because they're in private school. So I had quite a bit of that going on, and I came to school I came to New York from Bermuda. So again, I had a peculiar accent. And then my peculiar accent was really weird because it's not, Bermudian accent is not the same as other West Indian accents. So even the West Indian children kind of separated themselves from me because they didn't quite know what to make of me, So yeah, I had a lot of that going on, and all the way through, I was in high school in New York for the first year, for my freshman year. So even through that first year of high school, I had that experience. Um, those experiences. So yeah, a lot of just being isolated, feeling isolated. And I was very friendly, so it was hard to figure out who to be friendly with, for lack of another way to explain it. I'm
Mhm.
complete.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. Being from the Caribbean myself, as a teacher, I experienced something where somebody in upper mentioned to me, oh, they don't like my voice, you know, I'm like, what do you mean you don't like my voice? Like, what do I do with that? Do I stay silent for you? You know, like, how do you tell a person something like that? It's like, I speak how I speak. This is my accent. I'm not from here. I don't, even if I was in America, like, which American was I supposed to sound like? Like, who? So, yeah, that was even traumatic for me as a woman in school, in public school. It's like you still have adults who try to bully and take advantage or say some snide things to you, you know, and it's like, okay, that's fine. You don't have to like it. But thanks for sharing that. It's hard as immigrants coming into a country, having to fit in, don't sound alike, don't look like them, don't behave like them, don't eat the same food. They tease you about everything. If you open up your home cooked meal that you got for leftovers that you love and want, they're teasing you, how come you're not eating the cafeteria food? It's like you eat the cafeteria food, they're teasing you because you didn't get your parents to bring you the fast food or whatever, Chick-fil-A for lunch. It's like this little quiet little status thing that goes on and stuff like that is also emotionally traumatic for children when their families can't even afford to do certain specific things or afford to send them on these trips and stuff like that. They get teased because they lack the funds. So trauma in public schools is not just, the violence. It's all of those other little things that goes on that children have to be exposed and experience too. Like because their parents can't afford to do certain things, so now everybody got to see that. It's already bad enough that you couldn't. But now everybody else is going except you. That's traumatic for some kids, and it's out of their control. So if anyone else would like to share before we go to our next point.
I would like to share just one thing quickly, please.
Yes, ma'am.
What just came to mind is like sometimes children don't want to go to school and they're crying, they don't want to go, and the parents have to go to work, of course, but you're forcing the children to go. But maybe something is happening to them at school
Hmm.
and they didn't give voice to it, and they don't want to go. It's not because they don't like school or they're lazy or they're this or that, but they may be experiencing trauma and they just can't or won't accept that. Never thought of that before.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Exactly. Like my students personally, you can check my references. It's like 9 out of 10 kids more than likely do not want to go home. It's like the opposite effect with me because of the trauma and because I understand how children feel about an array of different things. I try to make sure that they're in a neutral, safe environment across the board with even if they get something wrong, it's okay. Let's figure it out. Even though if I see you're slacking off and you're not pushing yourself, you're going to get the other side of me where I'm going to push you and I'm not going to accept just giving up, but that there's a balance when you see that I am also concerned about how people speak to you, how I speak to you. I'm concerned about if you're happy, if you're getting to do the things that you want to do. I really consider the whole child and their whole experience, that they feel seen, they feel wanted, they feel encouraged, and all of that stuff. And when little children aren't getting that warmth and that type of exposure to the love and the support, because you really got to be able to show them that you truly do care about them on all these levels. And if a teacher isn't able to show that, or the caregivers aren't giving that, the child isn't going to want to be around that at all. They would prefer to be home on their TV or games or whatever is the case with their parents versus going into that environment and they're stuck in it and there's nothing they could do, or there might be a student who might be traumatizing them and nothing is being done about it. And they haven't even told the parents because they're just blowing it off. But to the student, this child keep calling them this name, it bothers them, and the teacher may just brush it off, you know? And then what do you do? Your parent might say, get over it, it's nothing, forget them, but that didn't help the problem. The problem is they're doing this to me, and you're not even advocating for it to stop, or you're not taking me out of that environment. No. that would make me not want to go to school either. So thanks for sharing that. Is there anyone else that would like to share before we head on to the next point? Okay, I guess we can go to the next point. Thank you all so far who's jumped in and shared your experiences with these points. You know, even just one person elaborating on the topic makes the conversation more solidified, because some people may not feel comfortable about sharing some of the things or their things that they went through. But I'm glad for those people who are open to exposing us to their information. So this here is a theme from my second book in the trilogy, A Seed from the Garden of Eve, A Tree Replanted. Peppa is the name that I was called as a child, so this is me. Peppa empowered herself as an educator and as a mother, broke generational cycles through intentional parenting, reclaiming her voice and ensuring her children felt heard, safe, and loved. So when I became a teacher, I wanted to first and foremost, when I knew I had my kids, I was like, I'm going to educate my children first and foremost. So from they were infants, I started teaching my children, and I taught them all the way up until they were in kindergarten. And at that point, I put them in public school. And my daughter stayed in public school until sixth grade, and my son redid ninth grade with us. After he did the ninth grade at the public school and high school, we just had him to do it one more time. And then he and both of them graduated under the tutelage program that my company runs. So I was able to have the experience to you know, break the cycle where for my whole life and all of my cousins and everybody went to public school. No one homeschooled their kids. It was just a thing that people do. You just go to the public school. So I think I might have been the first one in my family, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I may have been the first person in my family to break that regular cycle and try something different. And not everybody was in agreement. Some people thought that I should have let my kids continue or whatever is the case, but I was in control of their life. They're my kids, and I chose what I thought was best for them, my husband and I. So that was very intentional with what I did, and I also intentionally parented them where I scheduled them their social life, and I scheduled their time for study. I scheduled time for their personal time. So I just made sure that everything that I did encapsulating their lives, that it was kind of well-rounded. We exposed them to many things, museums. They got to travel. They get to go to see cool things in nature. So I just wanted them to know that the experience that I was giving them was unique in a sense. It's not like they're the only ones who do it, but not many people get the opportunity to be homeschooled. So they were able to experience public and homeschool, and overall, I think they both enjoyed the homeschool experience. So that was just a little personal piece that I wanted to input in here that was shared in my second book about me homeschooling my kids and why I went into it. Does anyone else have anybody in their family who broke that regular cycle of sending their kids to just regular school and they was like, you know what, I'm going to try this new approach? Is there anyone who did that or someone who might be considering doing that? I see Rachel's hand.
Hi, good morning and blessings. Thank you for this conversation. So, what comes up for me and what's coming up for me is I have met a lot of young people that have been homeschooled, and I think it's super important, like what you shared, that you scheduled in their social life, right? And I think that there needs to be training, right, that's provided for the family members, because some of the youth that I have spoken with have developed social anxiety due to being homeschooled. So they weren't as interactive. Also with COVID that happened, there was a little bit of homeschooling happening, right, by force. And a lot of parents don't have the emotional intelligence to homeschool their children and do exactly what you're doing in an amazing way, um, because their patient doesn't allow it, right? So it creates different disorders or issues within those youth. And so my question would be to you, is this something that you just naturally did, or is it because your system is amazing, but it seems like it's a system that needs to be taught. If somebody is thinking about homeschooling their child, you just can't go and out homeschool. There has to be something in place to support you. And so that's my question to you.
So my biggest support in the homeschooling journey, even though I'm a teacher, I do have my limitations. I am best at best to teach math up to eighth grade pre-algebra. So for me, I know that I had that insecurity. So what I did, my husband and I researched and we found the Acellus program that provided the accredited video-based, it's module-based accredited school. So it took away all of the stress of the grading, the teaching, and everything is in the system, and they have tutors and all this stuff. And because I have a tutoring company, I was able to employ tutors to help my children. You see, so I was able to do that. And it is something, like I said, homeschooling is something if you have it within your means and your wherewithals. Parents who have struggled or feel insecure with working with their kids, that's where tutoring comes in. That's where private tutelages come in. That's where companies like mine come in, where I offer parent homeschool coaching. So I may meet with the parent once a week and say, hey, how is it going this week? Let's set your goals. Are you struggling? Or do your child need some tutoring support at this time where we charge a lower rate? Like my rates are way low because I want to help families and I want to make it equitable and I want to make it where most people can get the service. So my prices are well lower than the competition, even though my service is well up on the top because I put pure passion into my work. So I think about all of the different things as I was a homeschool parent that the needs, the social needs, the emotional support needs for parents who's going through things, because they still have the same problems in public school. Public school have lots of little wallflowers walking around that do not want to participate in anything, that feel pressured to get into it, and all of that stuff. It's just, again, the individual child. You have very social children and you have antisocial children. They're in the public schools and they're also at home. So if a parent have the need for structure, we help to provide a scheduled structure, a realistic structure. What is your life really like? Be honest about it so that we can find the right window in which your child can study. They only need to study about 3 hours a day versus the whole day. Let's schedule it in your time. If you're able to work from home and schedule your blocks when your child can get on the computer and do their work, as long as they're doing their work every day and they're graduating and they're showing their competencies, what is the question about? You see? So I hope that answered your question a little bit. Not every parent is geared to work with their kids. Public school is definitely something and the only option for many people. But if you have the wherewithal and you have it in your structure where you can homeschool and you want to homeschool, even if you know that you have insecurities in certain subject areas, and you can afford to get the tutoring or put them on a program like the Acellus that we use, it makes the education so much more smoother and easier for you to do. It takes a big weight off of your shoulders. I see Kay Sweetness's hand is up. Kay Sweetness, is she?
Oh, you looking for me? I'm
Yeah,
here.
I see you up there. My eyes must be everywhere, but I'm still getting used to the technology.
Okay. All right. So Grand Rising. Thank you. Thank you for all that you do. And yeah, teacher. Well, I am a teacher of sort. However, thank you for what you do, being around the young people and feeling them and help heal them and their parents. So what came up for me was my youngest son has a little boy, a precious little boy, and that he keeps him very close to him. Right? So, I mean, periodically I would ask my son through him growing up, has anything happened that was strange or he was uncomfortable with? And he says no, because he used to go away to camp. We sent him away to camp, sleepaway camp, and he went places and he was away from us and he was away from me for a while too because I was incarcerated. So, I don't know, but he keeps his son close to him. And what I wanted to throw out in the community was that, like, my family are questioning why you're not sending him to school,
Mhm.
as if he's 3 years old, right?
Right.
So he's my grandson was taking his time with speaking.
Mhm.
Yeah, he can communicate with you. However, speaking, he was taking his time with that, as far as the family was concerned. And they were connecting that with the lack of socialization that he was not getting because he wasn't leaving the house and going somewhere else.
Daycare or
And
something,
huh?
like daycare or something like that.
Oh, absolutely. And I was just remembering because we were just so conditioned to send the children out of the house, right? Probably to get some rest. My mother worked really hard. She was a single parent. My father wasn't there for a long time. So,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking about, because when people bring up these thoughts, we having this conversation. And so, like, how will the children feel safe enough to tell somebody that something's happening? How do they put that in words? That came up, and what is trauma for one person is not trauma for the other. Because where I grew up, somebody was dead in the backyard. Oh, okay, well, then that's what's happening.
Like another
So
Friday.
another Friday, so or Tuesday, whatever day it falls on. And so when you were talking about, I remember feeling extremely uncomfortable in the classroom where these, I'm gonna call them bad kids because I don't consider myself one. They would throw things at the teacher's head, right?
Mm.
And to me, that was traumatizing. To me, I felt so bad for the teacher. I wasn't raised like that. You just don't do things like that to adults. So, getting into what's traumatizing for one might not be the other. And then I believe the core of what I'm saying is that what Rachel was saying, some parents are emotionally immature.
Mhm.
They're not, even if they're there, even if they're trying to help you with your homework or whatever's going on, they're not capable of doing that. And then also my family, um, they're approaching my son's idea of what's right for him
Mhm.
as wrong. Right? And that's challenging. So you doing what you think is right, but then your family and your support and your loved ones
Mhm.
are questioning what you're doing.
Mhm.
And so I'm finding that sometimes we put ourselves in a box we've been conditioned to be in.
Mhm.
Like the children must go to school, right? Even that's a law. Isn't that a law
It,
that the
the law
children
is that children must be educated because it's one of our rights. In order for you to achieve your rights to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, you got to have your education. So it's important for children to be educated as it prepares them to be a functioning adult. So that education, some people might be like, oh, they don't need this, they don't need that. Education is definitely something that's needed for every individual to be able to read, to be able to do math so that you're not being juked by, there's a lot of cons out there. You got to be able to critically think. So that's the main purpose for education. So when we don't give that education to our kids, it's a disservice to them. And the problem is also parents feel insecure because some of them lack the full levels and high levels of education.
Right.
Some of them were just pushed through the system. So when you have those types of problems too with the literacy rates of that, and then they're coming in with the new age type of learning, even the digital stuff, it's like me, I feel a little off. That's why I started using ChatGPT because I'm not the one. I'm not the one for the heavy, heavy technology. That I just have my limitations, and if people I don't, I know what I have time to do right now in my life and what I don't have the time to invest in, and I don't have the time to invest in everything. So it's like when we really look at it in that way, we have other systems in place to help families. Not everybody is scared for it. There's pros and cons to public and homeschooling, but the homeschooling system that I was able to personally create over these last 7 years has made me the most happiest in my work that I've ever been. It's giving me much more freedom and flexibility as a parent when I experience it as a parent homeschooling and as an educator working as a tutor in my company. And I can help so many more people on a personal level, like the parents, to develop their parenting skills and
Right.
their coaching skills, or be the support that the parents need to teach them how to teach. Because if you
All
can teach
right.
a parent how to teach, then we're good. Then when they have that next child coming up, they already have those reading skills, knowing how to teach the reading, knowing how to teach the writing. Just give it to the parent if they really want to. We're not forcing parents to become homeschool parents. This is for parents who are interested in becoming homeschool parents, knowing that you have support out there to help you along the way. You don't have to do it in that old brick and mortar way that it used to be.
Right. So the when you say brick and mortar, I was just thinking because you said the critical thinking, teaching how to critically think. So I don't I'm not confident that that's what happens in the schools that are available, the public schools that are available to us. And I just now was reminded that my youngest son went to a Montessori school when he was young.
Mhm.
So, and he, like I said, he keeps his son very close to him. And then another thing that he does not do is in inflict or he doesn't teach him fear. We're not born fearing, and
Mhm.
but we learn to fear, right? And so he has a there's a way to not do that, to allow children to be children without encouraging fear. And so then that's another way of and wow, it's a lot going on with what you're doing and the different ways of not just teaching but the different ways of knowing. So
Right,
I'm watching my grandson not not fear. And then
right,
I'm watching other children who have been conditioned to fear and how they navigate. And then another thing, let me throw this out there as well before I am complete, is that my son feeds his child food that is alive, right? He doesn't eat candy, he does not eat sugar, he does not eat meat of any kind. And
mhm,
so that develops a certain kind of person as well.
right.
So when we ask these children to do things that we think that they're supposed to do, we're asking them to do that at the same time we're pushing sugar and preservatives
Right.
down their throat. So, and with that, I'm complete.
Right. And it almost goes back to the opening point that I said about breaking those generational cycles. Your son may be a generational cycle breaker, where he's like, I am going to be in control of my child. You guys had your children to be in control of. You chose that road. I'm choosing this road. I'm choosing to keep my young child safe and protected by being close to me. That doesn't necessarily mean that something had to have happened to him. He could just be aware that things happen, and because of that, he's choosing to intentionally parent in that way. He's intentional, and I hope that he continues to hold his ground on what he sees fit for his child. Because at the end of the day, anything happens, he is in control of his child. That's his choice to make. And I applaud him for being a man who actually wants to be hands-on with his child and raise him in the way that he thinks his son should be raised. So thanks for sharing that bit with him. Is there any other shares in here that we can get to before we go to, it's actually 8 o'clock. Time has come already. I think this is where something is supposed to happen. We're supposed to say thank you for those of you who came in this morning. If you have to go, I completely understand. But if you would like to stick around, you can do so as we have 30 more minutes, I think, left in this discussion. Would my facilitators like to jump in at this time if there's anything that needs else to be added here?
Did a fine job. We're gonna drop the links in the chat for everyone who has to leave. So thank you all for joining us as long as you could. If you can stay longer, perfect. If not, we'll share the information for those of you who have to head out early. I'll turn it back to you, Lawanda.
Okay. Was there anybody else who wanted to share? If there anything in the chat that needs to be read off at this time before we go into it?
The only share was from Z, who said that oh, Rashida can share as well, and then I'll go back to the chat.
Okay, Rashida.
Grand Rising, Grand Rising. Thank you so much for the topic once more. One of the things that I have been seeing, I have a niece. She's a she's a MD, and the situation is that she is a homeschool mom, but her husband have a mindset that you don't want the kids them to be homeschooled, and it's a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
It's a struggle between they two. And I says to her, up to a couple months ago, I said, how you doing with homeschooling the kids? One is 5, and the little one is 1. And she says, and the answer she says to me, she said, I've been homeschooling these kids them since session. I have them 9 months carrying them. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I start.
Mm-hmm.
And she says to her husband, huh? How you think this homeschool starts, she says.
Mm-hmm.
And also one is the homeschool struggle with him, and also vaccine. She don't vaccinate our kids. And it's one of those things that one day he said, oh no, I'm going to take over. Since you're homeschooling the kids, I'm going to take over the medical care. She
Okay.
says, what? She said, no, it goes together. The homeschooling and the medical care goes together. So when you's making these points and everyone make their point, cake sweetness, I'm telling you, I goes through like, wow, how we able to break the cycle.
Mm-hmm.
And why I say that is because I did not homeschool my son, but he was in a boarding school that homeschool. He went to Alabama. We at the time we was living in New York, and he said, "Mom, and he was in Eagle Academy, our boys' school here in Brooklyn." And he said, "Mommy, I wanted to go to boarding school." I said, "You sure?" He said, "Yes." So eventually we find this boarding school, homeschool boarding school. It was the
Mm-hmm.
best thing I ever done for my son until today. He's 27 years old,
Mm-hmm.
and he have 3 kids. And I said, hell no to the no. They are going to be homeschool. I said, why? He says, the, the enrichment and the instillment that I got
Mm-hmm.
from boarding school, homeschool, it was the best thing. He said, I never went to school a day in my life.
Right.
Each trouble, ego, they always on the
Uh,
go,
uh,
always on the go.
mhm.
They at museum, they is in the garden. They listen. I'm telling you, homeschool setting for me in my consciousness
Mhm.
and my exposure to it. It's a, I would say, the 150% go. Don't
Right.
get me wrong. Some people work and cannot fit into that homeschool, but the person, the mother or the father who stay home, they should have some kind of a matter of fact, I would urge you to do some kind of seminar or some kind of retreat to teach people how they go about
Homeschooling.
going into that in that arena. And thank you so much. I am telling you, two thumbs up for you.
Thank
Thank you so
you.
much for really following the calling, because this is a calling. Thank
It
you so much.
is.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. And like if you guys ever check out my Facebook page, you guys can see a little snippet. I don't even get to capture everything, but you really get to see a snippet of what the life is like. As an educator, I'm not stuck in that classroom. I'm actually being able to work with kids on the academics, break the academic work, take them to a park, take them out shopping at the grocery store, just cooking the food with them, and just doing real life sewing and teaching them how to iron and fold clothes and to be domesticated. And then they go home and help their families. So it's really just an overall enriching experience when you really have a proper system put together. I see that Rashida has her hands put up.
Oh no, that's from last time. I'll lower it.
Okay, sorry about that, Rashida. Rashida say, no, not me.
Completed.
Well,
Yeah.
um, anyone else? So there was something you were going to share in the thread.
Oh yeah. Actually, I'll let Z come off mute. She was sharing about her experiences and that of her children and why she chose to put them in the school she did.
Okay.
Z, can you hear us?
Pardon me. Copying over to Facebook. Got a little
Okay.
distracted. Yeah, I opted to put my oldest son went to Muslim school when he was first began his education, like in kindergarten and first grade, and um, and then when I moved to Georgia, I put him in in the public school there because I was learning the area and didn't know anything. So I put him in the public school, and that 1 year, the experiences he had weren't overly traumatic, but I just didn't feel like he was getting what he needed. Um, Gratefully, one of his teachers, actually from the school in New York, had moved to Georgia for several years before, and she had was homeschooling her children. So I talked to her that whole first year about opening it up to other parents who wanted that experience with their children, and she did. So after that first year, he and my other children ended up going to her homeschool. And then when I moved out of Georgia, I continued the homeschool journey, but more because I just the behavior of the children
Mhm.
outside of school. Many of the children outside of that's not in school, but outside of school, the way they carried on, I I didn't see that as a good place for education
Mhm.
for the way they were behaving. If they were behaving that way, I didn't expect that they were behaving any differently when they were in school, and I didn't see that as an environment where my children were going to learn anything.
Mhm.
That was why I took on the homeschooling challenge, and I'm grateful that I did. And there was a period of time where I put my children in a Montessori school. That was a good experience for them too. But then I ended up ultimately bringing them back when they finished there. I brought them back home as opposed to putting them in a public high school.
Mhm.
Uh, so that
Right.
was just the journey I took.
Right. Thanks for sharing that. It's kind of similar with me and mine, you know. Just really it was just a special time for me to be able to for my husband to be able to help me to be able to afford to be able to open the tutoring company and personally tutor my kids and homeschool my kids. It was a life-changing experience for me. I think that it avoided a lot of stress, you know, like my son who has asthma, and his asthma is triggered by seasonal allergies. And the seasons change all the time around here in Texas. The weather changes a lot. So sometimes when he would have the allergies, it would make his asthma flare and he would need to get on the breathing treatment with the albuterol. Fine. That's just a standard. He have to go throughout the day, taking his breathing treatments and he's coughing and it's stuffy. It's just a lot in like hay fever. It's just a lot. So if I know that that's why my son is sick, I don't have to take him to the doctor every singular time because I know that that's what's going on. But at school, I would have to go every time my son is sick and go get a doctor's note, pay money to take it back to the school to say, oh, my son has to be off today, when I could have made that executive call as his parent to do that. So even little things like that, it's like it's such an inconvenience that when my son finally was able to be homeschooled, that stress and those worries automatically was yet another thing that I didn't have to worry about, or their penmanship and their writing and the level of which I put them on that academic rigor from young to be a certain type of student. And when I see those types of things slacking off as soon as they go to the public school, it's like all of that hard work we put in place, teachers are just accepting, some teachers are accepting the mediocrity, allowing them to incorrectly spell and stuff when we're actually trying to teach them the right way the first time. It's like little types of things or strategies or approaches that I personally don't even agree with as an educator that I chose to implement differently with my kids. It's like I just wanted to take better control of my kids' education, and that's why I decided to become a homeschool teacher. I see Jasmine has her hand up. Is Miss Jasmine sharing?
Hi, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to unmute myself. Hello. Um, Sorry. I just wanted to say thank you for this. Most because I'm at the beginning of the homeschool journey. My son is 3.5, and I've been back and forth. And the main back and forth is not necessarily me, but other people.
Mhm.
And so this workshop and the testimonies have been giving me the confidence to um, continue being steadfast on what I want to do for my son. And I think one of the like main questions I have is like, do you know of any like resources or support for um I guess working parents? Because I I actually what like my main concern was the fact that I do work, and I don't foresee that changing anytime soon.
Mhm.
But I did I did connect with a young lady who works, well, one of my colleagues. She homeschools her kids, but she has a little bit more flexibility because she's an LPN, and so what she does is that she'll basically take most of her shifts on like a Friday evening and then do doubles on the weekend
Mhm.
to be with her kids those 5 days.
Mhm.
And she's also given me resources, but I was just curious if anyone knew of, or even any like hybrid models, because I've heard that there's like some things where people send their kids to like for a few days and then they have them a couple of days. So I was just wondering if you
Mhm.
knew, or if anyone knew of resources for like that would bridge the gap between, working parents that are interested in doing this and really believe in the merit of homeschooling your children.
Okay. I think it depends on how much money you make.
This is very true.
Let's just start with the funds. If you're working and you're able to afford a child caregiver or somebody, it could be someone you trust, like a college student, somebody who have a flexible schedule like that. It could be a retired person who don't mind making a few dollars. And the only
Mm,
thing they have to do is just make sure this kid gets online and watches their videos. When you get home from work, you can check their grades at the end of the day in the Acellus program specific that I'm talking about. This is only
okay.
about Acellus, and I do not make any money from Acellus Academy. This is a disclaimer. I'm just giving my personal experience. With the Acellus program, for instance, it takes all of the teaching out of your hands. You don't have to teach the child. The child watches the videos, they answer the questions, they go to the next thing, they do their exams. You can give them supplemental resources. Like I use the Abaca textbooks for the young learners, like up to third or fourth grade. I put them in Abaca. By the time they're in fifth and sixth grade, they're just soaring through that Acellus program. We also use IXL, which is another resource that we can use to monitor the child's progress on that grade level. And it provides additional higher grade levels there that you can jump right on when you have the account. So there are some programs out there and other manipulatives and resources that a company like mine, like Learning with Lawanda, we parent and coach the parents and the child and the caregiver, everybody who is in that circle, with making sure that the child is going to be properly monitored. As long as they have a monitor to facilitate the learning at the time that the child has to do it, you may be able to get along with it that way, or work with your child in the evenings, because like I said, they only need 3 hours of work time each day. So if you do it that way, it's just a matter of where the child is going to be. So if you had someone to watch your child for the week or for the month, and you give them a monthly rate, and then within that they can even take them to the park, or stuff like that, like you would have like in a personal assistant kind of life. It can be something like that, or you may have a family member who they can go by to do their work and be at in the daytime when you're there, depending on your community that you have. So you can kind of look at it that way too, to help you if you are working a like regular 9 to 5 or 8 to 3. They can have a different, their schedule can almost match yours in that way. Is that helping you at all? Just wondering if that qualifies or could apply to you in your life. Then you.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
sorry. Yeah, it was definitely helpful. Sorry, I was trying to unmute again because I'm outside.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, but you definitely gave me some creative ideas. I'll most definitely lean on grandma because she's on this call. She encourages the journey, which I think is very helpful to have a family member in your corner that doesn't think what you're doing is so bizarre and so
Right,
far removed. So she's
right.
definitely been a really good support. So I'm definitely gonna lean on grandma for this, but thank
Mhm.
you so much.
Right, thank you. And even like places like the Y, there's different types of places that have like little programs that you can sign your child up for, and that they have this thing that they go and do in the afternoons or specific days, so that they're still getting the enrichment that they want. They go to swim class and stuff like that. So again, it depends on how much money you make. If you have the financial means. Acellus, they do offer a tuition program, which is like $80 a month, and you get access to 6 courses at a time. And with that $80, if you're only spending 80 and you can afford to spend 1,000 or 1,500 a month on your child, if you can, then you will be able to afford somebody to watch your kid during those blocks, plus maybe an extracurricular activity or two, depending on which one you choose. It could be an explorers club, it could be Boy Scouts or girls clubs, So you can just kind of mix it up like that, or use that money to take them out on excursions yourself on the weekends, and in the afternoons just schedule some personal time where you have with the child, so they're because they're at home, you don't have to think about the hours like it is in public school. Your child can start schoolwork at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. They don't have to start at 8 o'clock in the morning. So there's so many flexibilities that you can put into the child's life. So, they could sleep over by somebody and be there half the day. And when you come home, you can pick them up and then do things with them at that time. So it's so flexible when you have control with your child's life.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
okay, I see Laura's hand.
Yes, Grand Rising, Grand Rising.
Good morning.
Um, Lawanda, thank you so much this morning. Fully awake now. So I'll share my experience in the homeschooling community. As a matter of fact, I was watching Dr. Phil interviewing some parent who now call the homeschooling unschooling community. And what I noticed is that most of them said their children were afraid of school shootings.
Mhm.
Somewhat well, yes. That's why they were scared of going to public schools.
Mhm.
So it brought me back to in the 90s. One of my job was we call it mother's helper at the time, but now I got the term. I was really assisting parents in a community in Brooklyn, and it led from one job to working with several parents. And I didn't see myself as a teacher because I wasn't certified per se, but I was introduced to a variety of activities because I had to help to take these children to swimming, yoga, to the museums, all over the place. I was all over Brooklyn with these kids.
Mhm.
And one of the well, he's a big man now, married. He's now a graphic designer, he makes videos, and he's a chef.
Mhm.
And whenever we talk, he's always telling me, "Oh, thanks, you made me a chef." Because I remember him as a 3, 4 year old kid. I had him on the counter when I was cooking, having him help me to measure, the things. If I was doing laundry, I would have them help me
Mhm.
take out the colors and put different colors in the machine, and so on and so forth. So I would have to stay with some of these kids when the parent would come home late.
Mhm.
And I remember the Columbine shooting. I remember going into one home. And when I went home, there were two kids at the time. They ran and said, "Laura, Laura." And they were telling me about the shooting. And I was like, wow. But at that time, I didn't know about, the impact of trauma,
Mhm.
collective trauma. Cause I was traumatized, and hearing them telling me about this thing. And I didn't call the mother. It was a mother at the time. I didn't call her at work to tell her. So when she got home and the kids rushed to tell her, she's like, "Oh, but why didn't you tell me?"
Right.
And so on and so forth. And it's like she was blaming me. And I'm like, I came home to hear this from your
Same
kids.
thing, right? They
Yeah.
just getting the message again.
Yeah. So
It's
that was how I start, well, part of my lesson on the impact,
Mhm.
of, well, collective trauma and so on and
Right.
so forth. But it was such an education for me at the time,
Mhm.
working in this community and learning. I did really learn so much because it's Montessori method where you spoke about teaching the kids how to do things, cooking, cleaning, whatever. There was this one parent, she was a psychologist,
Mhm.
yeah, and she opened her home to have some of the kids come to her home
Mhm.
to learn these skills.
Mhm.
So I was so grateful that, I was in that community. And that was a community that even helped push me into going back to school.
Mhm.
And I got, of course, some of the parents are really mad with me. And then I'm like, wow, I get to, yes,
So your
like,
purpose have been served.
no, I'm not there to serve them. What about me? No, I have to start,
Right. You've been inspired.
Yes, yes. So I just
Yeah.
want to share that and the benefits I received also from working in that community.
Mm.
Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you so much. Thanks for sharing that. I just think about when they had the Sandy Hook shooting, how it shook me. I'm here in Mansfield, Texas, but I'm shook. I'm actually Arlington at the time, but I was shook from Sandy Hook because my kids were in the same grades of the kids that were massacred, and it was such a random thing in the suburbs right here in America, and you don't expect it. And that just it traumatized me. I cried, I grieved, and I just felt bad for the little children who witnessed it, for the parents who had to go through that. And I was like, I don't think I ever want my kids to be in this type of environment, you know. So that there was one of the catalysts that really got me to thinking that one day I'm going to pull my kids out of this public school situation and homeschool my kids because just too much was going on. So, and then seeing the little young children who commit suicide because of bullying and stuff like that, I'm like, you know what? Not mine. I know we can't protect them from everything in the world, but if we can put up contingency plans and put other things in place to keep our kids safe as much from trauma, because trauma just creates individuals who have to do a whole lot of healing and deep searching and everything when they get older. We still have to deal with those unresolved issues. They don't go away until we tackle them. So that's why I try to break this generational cycle by taking that bold step to homeschool my kids, regardless of what anybody else had to say. My husband and I, thankfully, were in accordance to do it. It definitely would have been strife and rifts if we weren't in accordance. So it's important that both parents, if there is a double, two-parent household, that both parents are at least willing to give it a try and look at it as the overall. And both parents are deeply invested in the fact that you're taking a risk by trying to go against the grain, by trying to work with your kids and be intentional about the things that you're doing and taking the task very seriously. It's not like you can be blowing off your days and saying, oh, you're home, go to sleep today, I'm tired. No, you have to be just as committed and consistent with their education because, again, we're preparing them for when they become adults in the world, and we can't shortchange them on their educational opportunities. So I think we're almost at the end, and I still didn't finish it. So I maybe if
No
you
worries.
guys want, we can
Three.
wrap this discussion out, or we can continue to the end of it because there was just a little bit more, I think. I don't know how many slides in are we?
Oh, yeah, let's see. I think we're on to slide 10 of,
I'm almost done.
yeah.
I'm almost done. There was some stats in
It's a,
there.
it's just a part three, that's all.
They just got part three. There was like this woman still talking about homeschool.
It's not an easy, it's a very nuanced subject, so no worries. And so much came out of this and in just a few slides. So that was
Right,
great. We had a very fruitful conversation.
right. So thank you all again. And we do have some giveaways if it's okay for us to talk about that now, or do we
Yeah,
talk about it later?
sure. I will bring up the slide for that and then we'll see who that person is. So let's bring up your special offer. Actually, I'll bring up your resources first so you can
Okay.
share that with everyone. Right. One second.
Oh, thank you, Laura. Say all of her business is in here.
Oh,
Okay.
hold on one second. This side.
Oh, this was was this almost the last slide?
Oh,
Okay.
wait, no, we had a few more. Hold on. Where is it? Hold on, let me see. It's not showing the right one. Hold on.
I do have some data and stats to share comparing the homeschool with public school, and all of that stuff in there. But, just encouraging people to be encouraged on your decision if you choose to work with your kids. These are my to-dos at this time. I have my trilogy that I'm working on. I'm about to publish the final piece, Tree Grounded, but these are my two books. The first one talks about some of the traumas I experienced in my early childhood, in my young life, and some of the things that I talked about today, like seeing the a woman being abused or the teacher getting jumped or the trauma that happened to me in high school. All of that is covered in the first book. The second book is talking about my journey as a mother, relocating to the States, and also homeschooling my kids, getting into education, and then stepping into entrepreneurship and starting my tutoring company. So that's all covered in the second book. And all of this here, with my tutoring company, my educational services is so much more than tutoring. It's so much more that now it's called Learning with Lawanda. So I do help parents and I do help children on the academic and social emotional levels. So if you do need coaching, with becoming a homeschooling parent, I can help you guys with a visionary concept, setting up a schedule and how your life can look with your child in that. We do online services and also in-person coaching. So you can also donate if you would like to give to a cause. Our prices, like I said, we do not get any government assistance or anything. This is just a passion project that I do for my personal self with my family and a few assistants. But any type of donations help towards the programs, equipment, to just keep the service going. You can donate on learningwithlawanda.com or check out our multitude of service options from infant tutoring all the way up to helping your kids graduate high school. We also help international students achieve a US based education that can help with the transition over when if they were to come out here for college and university, getting exposure to that American history and the math that they do and topics that's more American-ish. They can do that through the Acellus program with our tutoring and guidance. So if you get in there, you'll see about all of our programs that we offer with Learning with Lawanda, and you can get a copy of these books on Amazon or really anywhere where books are sold online. You should be able to find the copies of the books if you're interested. And the last one is coming out soon, so you can guys can look out for that too coming up.
Wow, you got a lot of things on the horizon.
Lots of
Lawanda.
things.
Yes.
Even a book about my dogs. Yes.
Oh,
The
beautiful.
children's book. This is more for adults.
Mhm.
This is a heavier read. It's for adults and it's only like 70 something pages in each of the books. So it's not a lot to read, but I hope that the information resonate with people and they see it as a human experience overall, So
Yeah, beautiful. You got a lot of works underneath you. This is great. All right. So your special offer, Learning with Lawanda, a coffee mug or t-shirt. And you have 7 days to make contact with Lawanda. So our lucky number 7, let's see who that is on the list here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Professor Marilyn.
hey, Professor Marilyn, I say, no, give it to somebody else.
Right. Let's see. Is she still on? Let's see. Marilyn, do you want or would you like to give it away? Your mug or your t-shirt?
So Marilyn, do you want the t-shirt or the mug? Do you want to say, hey, Lawanda?
No, maybe she's away from the computer. All right. So once, going twice.
Uh-oh, Professor Marilyn, you're gonna miss it.
All right, we're gonna go again. Give me another number.
Let's see, 11.
Okay.
If there was an 11 in the house.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh no. We need a little bit
Okay,
under
a
because
different
we're not
number?
including ourselves.
Okay, let me give you another number. 3.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Doreen. That's Aquia. Are you there with us?
Oh, okay. So is there anyone who would like a learning group?
You might be away from the computer. How about Jasmine? Jasmine, and you two can contact each other about next steps for homeschooling. She had questions about her 3-year-old, and you all can connect that
I have
later.
some dynamic information for the little
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Thank you
Okay.
so much.
All right.
so I could send you the t-shirt and the tutoring. One go.
Oh, look at
Perfect.
that.
Perfect.
What a blessed day.
Yes.
Thank
Good job.
you.
And Jasmine, who's grandma on the line?
Miss Andrea Fisher. I don't know if she's still on the call
Oh,
right
yes,
now,
she
but
is. Hey, Andrea.
yeah, she was she sent me the link. She's like, hop on, hurry up.
Beautiful. Thank you. She's
Well,
one of our
thank you. If
avid viewers.
just
Thank
if
you,
you
thank you so
want,
much.
just
Grandma is here. Yes, I
Yes.
am.
Oh,
All
see?
right. Great morning and grand
Good
rising, Wu
morning.
family. Thank you, Andrea. She's always on it. Thank you for sharing. Look at that. What a resource. And now you two will be able to connect and you get a coffee mug or t-shirt of your choice.
Yes, and if you want, you can just go into learningwithlawanda.com and just schedule the appointment. And then we can meet on Zoom and we
Okay.
can decide when is a good fit for you for the session. And it can be the tutoring session will actually be the parent coaching session. So I will coach with you and share with you resources that you can get to work with the little one and all of that. You can go to firststartutoring.com, the LLC at gmail.com. That is actually the formal name of my company, the LLC. But if you go to
Hmm.
learningwithlawanda.com, you'll be able to schedule in the afternoon the time that we can meet formally for the first time through Zoom. And then we can pick your needs. We can talk about how, if, and when, and get everything together for that free session for you.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm excited. I'm really looking
Thanks.
forward to it.
All right.
Yes.
The info is in the chat so you can copy and paste it from there, okay?
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right. And
Thank
it's on
you.
the screen as well. So, Luana, how can we stay in contact with you?
Well, yes, you can stay in contact with me. This is my phone number, 682-559-0404. If I don't answer, it's because I think you're a spam caller. So if I don't answer, you can just send me a text message. And then there's also Facebook. You can find me at Lawanda Banks or at learningwithlawanda.com on Facebook. If it looks like you're a spammer, I may not reply. So send me a text or an email. If you email me, you can connect at learningwithlawanda.com or lawandabanksllc@gmail.com. So those are my contacts. And the Lawanda Banks LLC is another company of mine where I help educators who want to take a transition over into maybe becoming a private tutor or doing something like my type of thing that I do. I open to consultations and helping them set up frameworks or even other individuals with their creative visionary processes. I'm very good at those types of things. So if you guys need help with brainstorming or coming up with new concepts or need that extra support and encouragement, I do schedule private times with folks and give them that type of consultations also. So you can just email me in these different types of realms if you would like. And if, of course, again, if you would like to donate, please do so on our website at learningwithlawanda.com.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. And speaking of donations, we want to make sure that everyone knows that you can send love offerings and donations to Spirit of a Woman via Cash App or Zelle QuickPay so that we can continue conversations like this. Bringing on amazing facilitators like Lawanda who share from different points of views, different areas of expertise and topics that we all might need or not know that we need, right? And then you can call your people on the lines. Like I called a few people up, like, hey, I know you're interested in homeschooling. I don't know about it, but Lawanda does. So hop on, right? So
Right.
we continue to have this platform of spaces where we can have conversations and bring other people in because we know they need the resources. So we do that by way of having Zoom, paying for e-blasts, text messages, things like that. So we want to keep that going. And we do that by way of love offerings that come in from the community. So please continue to share your love offerings on a daily basis as we share these links with you all. And that will also be dropped into the chat. And you can also do so on a monthly automated basis where you're sending in 25, 50, 75, $100, whatever you want to the Woo community on a monthly basis to keep things going, to keep operations going and the systems that we have in place so that we can have a smooth session Sundays through Thursdays. All right, and up next we have Z. All right, Z, you're gonna be here tomorrow morning, but you're gonna be facilitator mode. I love that. Like we sometimes you don't know where you're gonna see us. If we're gonna be facilitators one morning, admin the next morning, onboarding you the next day. We're very versatile in this group of volunteers. So Z is adminning today, but she will be facilitating tomorrow, exploring the wisdom in Khalil's Jabreen. And please, Z, come and help me here. Jabreen, the Prophet on Work and
Khalil Gibran.
Ron. All right, the Prophet on Work, a deeper dive. And that tomorrow is a 30-minute session. So Mondays and Wednesdays are 30 minutes-ish. Sometimes we go over. And then on Tuesday, we have our beloved Valerie Lyons, who is coming in. She's our career coach, intuitive career empowerment coaching session. That she's gonna have a one-on-one session with someone in the group. And I've actually done this with her. We did the Woo Anniversary, and I was one of the winners, and we had an amazing one-on-one coaching session together. So I told her, do it on Woo, and you can coach one person, and we can all watch, and everybody can get something from it. So if you're looking to take your career to another level, to go into looking at any blockages that you might have, Valerie is your gal for that. And so we'll be able to witness that on Tuesday. You don't want to miss that. All right. And then we want to welcome all of our new people. Jasmine, welcome. And you get freebies today. So we ask that you come back and continue to join us for more amazing conversations that we'll have. And again, you saw who's coming up for this week. And then we'll also have it on our schedule where you can see online the other people who are coming up. You can visit us there, and I'll share the link in a second. But we're here on Zoom Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Those are our 90-minute sessions like today, and 7 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. Eastern. And then Mondays and Wednesdays, again, are our 30-minute sessions from 7 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Eastern. And then we are also live on Facebook as well if you can't catch us here. And then we'll also have our replays there as well. And you can also get a text message reminder let you know that we're on the line by texting all caps Woo Nation to 74121. And then, like I said, you can go to bit.ly/wake up movement. Good morning. And see the lineup for the week and register. We also have our Facebook page and our group. So remember, there's two different parts. So we have a Facebook page and we have a Facebook group. So make sure you're a part of both of them. And that those links are in the chat as well, so you can catch the replays. Then we are also on Instagram. You can catch our replays on YouTube, and we are archiving going back 5 years, making sure we upload those videos so you can see from where we started and where we are now. And then we also have our email at info.wakeupseries@gmail.com where you can reach out if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. So I'm going to stop sharing right now, and I'm going to unmute everyone so that we can give Lawanda her well-deserved love shower for today's amazing session. And thank you so much, Lawanda. Let me see.
You guys for having me here.
Thank you, beloved. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lawanda. Thank you for all your perspective. Thank you for these beautiful illustrations.
Thank you, Lawanda.
Yes, your chat
Thank you.
GPT's beautiful.
Thank you.
My chat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Teacher Lawanda. Thank you, Teach.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Right.
Thank